Long Island Backstory with Chief Correspondent Gary Jacobs.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Gary Jacobs, and welcome to another edition of Long Island Backstory, where we film at the Cablevision Hauppauge Studios in Hauppauge, Long Island. Today, we got a great guest. I've been trying to get this guy on the show, I want to say 2 or 3 years. Very difficult to get this guy. So every time we do it, and it's not in a bad way, because he does a lot of volunteer work, very philanthropic with his time. So I appreciate that he took the time to come out. I know he's working on some big cases. So my guest today is, I want to say civil rights attorney, because that's what we're going to talk about, but he does a lot of other things also. Cory Morris, who's based out of Huntington, right off of Route 110 on Long Island. Cory was named super lawyer and is admitted to practice law in New York State, the Eastern District of New York, and the Southern District of New York. He's also admitted to practice law in the state of Florida. He's also a credentialed alcoholism and substance abuse counselor and trainee. He was named top 40 under 40 by the Long Island Business News and named top 30 under 30 by the Huntington Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Morris is an advocate for equality, civil rights, and social justice within the legal community. In recognition of this, Mr. Morris is a recipient of the Equality Award at the Suffolk County New York Civil Liberty Union 50th Anniversary Gala and the New York State Bar Empire Justice Award for pro bono work. Boy, is he going to be sorry I listed the pro bono work on the show. The law office of Cory H. Morris focuses on helping individuals facing addiction. He's also a member of the Lawyers Assistance Program in Nassau County Bar Association and Lawyers Helping Lawyers in the Suffolk County Bar Association. And hopefully we'll get a little bit of time to talk about that later. Not only is he a civil rights attorney, but he also handles cases on criminal issues, accident injuries, and lastly, accountability issues. Mr. Morris is familiar with the issues surrounding Long Island and has an advanced background in psychology, serving as an adjunct at Adelphi University. And I have to say, I've gone to some of his lectures that he's done there, and he really captivates people, because this is a smart guy. He attended college on Long Island, starting at Nassau Community College, which when I read that, I said, you should be on those commercials when they say, I started at Nassau Community College, and I ended up being a big shot lawyer here on Long Island.
See, that's why I couldn't do it.
He obtained his bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Adelphi University in 2008, a master's degree from Adelphi's Derner Institute of Advanced Psychological Studies in 2010. During his graduate degree, his concentration was on forensic psychology, substance abuse, and impulse disorders. Mr. Morris graduated Toro Law College at the top of his class, was a Dean's List recipient, and received both the David A. Berg Public Interest Fellowship and the Howard Glistine Public Interest Fellowship. He is also the recipient of several awards for pro bono legal services, as well as the Brian Lord Memorial Award for his demonstrated commitment to public interest. And I have to say, in fairness, I edited this way down, because for a young guy, he's got a lot of awards. So Cory, thank you again for coming on the show. I really appreciate you coming out.
Thank you for having me
here today. So what we're going to do is I do show clips during my show, but I don't like to I always tell people, just give me one that's a minute or two. But Cory is involved in the substance abuse, and he's very passionate about this problem and what we can do. And with his experience in law and in psychology, he's really the person to do this. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to show this public service announcement. And as many of the viewers know, to be mild, I've been quite critical of the Suffolk County Bar Association in the past, as I am of many judges. But listen, when they do something right, they deserve credit. So,
and thank you. And let me say, the Suffolk County Bar Association, it's a non-for-profit. These are lawyers who are volunteering. All the lawyers, police, I believe, even court officers volunteered to produce this video.
To do this video. Yeah. So listen, you know what? There's certain things like in 9/11 when Democrats and Republicans all can come together. And I think when it comes to the drug issue, everybody can come together. If you're an attorney, a police officer, a regular citizen, if you can't come together on this.
This is not left or right. This affects people of all races, colors, economic status. This draws on all lines. Right. It doesn't matter what you are. This should be an issue that's in the fore of everybody's mind.
Right. So let's go to the video. We'll show that, and then we'll be right back after the video.
Hey, Dad, can I have some friends over?
Yeah, what do you got?
Just some friends tonight.
Yeah. What do we have tonight?
We were just gonna stay in, watch the movies.
Sounds good.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah.
Make fun of me, I dare you. Make fun of me.
Alright, I got a joke.
Do it.
You know what's funny, guys?
What's funny? He's gonna say my
Frank's
face. You said my face. Of course you did. Shut up. What do you got in the bag?
Well, I went to my parents' liquor cabinet again. Got this hope they don't notice I'm stealing stuff.
Nice, fill me up. Ugh.
Oh, and I also got this in the medicine cabinet. They don't notice anything.
Dude, I brought mine down too. I'm down to the last bit, but it still works.
I mean, I'm out, but I found this in the medicine cabinet up there.
Hey kids,
Yeah.
we're going out to dinner. I left you some pizza money on the counter.
And Andrew, I don't want him here tonight. We're not going to be around, so I don't want him in the house. All
Okay.
right? But you guys have a good night. All right, we'll see you when
Have
we
fun.
get back.
Love you. Good night.
Love you
You
too.
Good night.
Sure. That won't happen.
What do we have left?
Man, I got like 2 pills left.
That's not enough.
Here, I got something.
Andrew. Hey, man. Andrew, can you make sure he's okay? Is he okay?
He looks pretty messed up.
Should we call an ambulance?
No, Mom would kill us. No, let's just get him outside or something. And he really doesn't look good.
What did you give him?
I don't know. Guys, I don't really know what to do with him.
Should we drop him off at a hospital?
No, we can't. No, we cannot.
What do you want to call his parents instead?
No. Gee, I don't even know if he has... Do we get him in the car? I don't really know what he should...
Seriously, dude, what'd you give him?
All right, guys, party's over. Let's get out of here, guys. What's going on? What's going on with him?
Nothing.
He's just taking a nap.
Taking a nap.
Just...
Hey, buddy. How long have you been down there?
I don't know.
Hey. You taking any drugs or you think that's
No. Nothing.
Okay, how long have you been here like this?
I don't know.
Hey, buddy. You okay? Hey, Mike.
Yep.
Yo, if you got an OD, man, you bring the Narcan out.
All right.
Mike, give me rescue.
Hey, how old is this guy?
19.
19?
Yeah.
210 headquarters, can you start me rescue to this IL for a 19-year-old OD heroin? So what was going on?
We were just hanging inside and he must have done something, I don't know.
Hey, do me a favor, just put your hands behind your back.
Why?
What's this? What is this?
I don't know.
All right. Do me a favor, just take a knee right here. Take a knee. Do me a favor, stand over here. All right.
Where?
Stand up.
Where?
Stand right here. Stand right there.
Where?
I need you to put your hands behind your back.
Why?
Just put your hands behind you. I'll explain everything to you, right? So right there. What is this?
Could be heroin?
It could be heroin?
Yeah, I don't know.
You think?
I don't know.
All right. You see what it's doing to your buddy right there?
Yeah.
You don't care, do you?
My dad's gonna kill me.
Yeah, I'm sure he will.
Teenage male and overdose on heroin. He injected him 4 milligrams of Narcan. All right. You saw us come out of the respiration.
No, I just came here. I didn't.
We don't know what time.
They were in my house.
You with how long?
Yeah.
Your house?
It's a question of that.
Yeah.
Who's the girl? Your girl?
No, sister.
Yeah. I don't know.
Whose are these? Are these yours?
Hope he doesn't die. All right?
What do you mean?
He looks pretty bad.
He's not gonna die.
Hope not.
He's fine.
Listen, he wasn't looking too good.
Hey,
Hold on. Who's this? Who's this?
Hey guys, you stay there for 1 second.
What's going on?
Our house.
All right, on. Just stay here.
They're gonna kill me.
They're okay.
What's going on?
What's your name?
Listen, relax.
This is Frank, my son Frank.
Ariana? Okay, they're okay.
They're honest. What happened with the ambulance?
I told them
I didn't.
You gotta own up to what you did.
All right, guys, your kids are okay. All right, they're under custody right now.
What's happened? What's going on?
There was a kid here called Andrew. I don't know if you know.
Andrew. We told him not to have Andrew
He
here.
apparently overdosed on some heroin.
What?
On heroin, yeah.
No.
Yeah, we found him here. We got called here for a noise complaint, and we found him unresponsive. We tried to revive him on Narcan. He's taken to the hospital right now.
Why is he in cuffs? What did he
We
have to do?
we found some drugs.
We're heading over to my car right now.
Well, my house is over here.
Yep. Well, you're gonna be sitting over here. Relax. Walk ahead.
So I had an opportunity to review a little bit of the paperwork. As you know, your son is charged with a B felony. He's currently facing 9 years in jail, and that's if they don't upgrade the charges. I know I had a brief opportunity to speak to the DA's office, and they indicate that the victim isn't doing well, and obviously if he dies, then the charges are going to be upgraded. Just so you understand, in the penal law, A felony is the most serious. That's like murder. Your son's charged with a B. So just so you understand the gravity of the situation, I know you must want to know what's going to happen next. So our first step is we're going to go to court, and we're going to try to get him released on bail. We're going to do what's called an arraignment. The judge is going to tell us what the charges are against him. Once we know that, the DA's office will do what's called a bail pitch, and they'll ask for the amount of money that they feel is necessary. I will then also do a bail pitch, tell the court a little bit about your family, about your son, and why the court.
Trouble.
Right. And I'll explain that to the court, and with the hopes of them releasing him on his own recognizance. I will tell you that with a charge this serious, there will likely be some bail set, so you should be prepared for that.
Actually, that video that we just showed you was not the entire clip, because the entire clip is about half hour long, and that would take up the whole show. So Cory, if people want to see the rest of that clip, because this is something that maybe, I don't know, if you think people should show it to their children, or is it for adults?
I think this is, again, it's a public service announcement. The bar is trying to reach as many people as they can. Again, the Suffolk County Bar Association, and no, that's a non-for-profit organization. They're not trying to reach.
I don't even think non-for-profit and lawyers can be said in the same sentence. FCC is going to throw us off the air.
It can. believe it or not, New York, just to get into the bar, just to be a lawyer in New York, you have to do 50 hours now. 50 hours of pro bono service as part of the profession, and that's what it is. It's a profession.
Right. So let me ask this: so, as what made you take interest in civil rights and become a civil rights attorney? So
I really wanted to change things. You see injustice, and you say to yourself, how did this occur? You look at Jim Crow. You look at what happened in Nazi Germany. It all happened on the color of state law. Everything was by the law. And in fact, if you look back to that era in the 1930s of not only Nazi Germany, but in this country, it was by the law that you had discrimination. You see this really come to the fold in certain issues, but certainly this right here in terms of drug abuse and substance abuse, right now, if you're, quote, possessing a drug, if you are loitering, you're basically criminalized for being addicted to a substance, a symptom of that disorder.
Right. So your issue is that this should not be treated and you have the both backgrounds, so you could do either. Well, listen, you could make a lot of money. A lot of people get rich off of the drug problem, right? Lawyers defend people every day in criminal court.
Well, not just a lawyer. Look, it's not just lawyers. It's all of the legal system that's embroiled into this. Jails especially. But recently there was a $10 million verdict handed against, I believe it was Corazine, for failing to address the symptoms of withdrawal. A young girl had exasperated, had dehydrated, and died. So it's in not only our best interest morally, our social values to do this, but financially, let's address the problem in the appropriate manner. So not only do we ameliorate those debts, we don't have people dying in our jails and our facilities, but also so we can address the underlying problem.
Right. So what could people do? You watch the video, and that looks like a typical Long Island household who probably had no idea was coming, and they were actually, in that video, they were good parents. You know, they asked their kids questions, they knew their friends. What can parents, because it seems like, I think it happened to them, and this happens.
Yeah.
This is a true story. I mean, not this particular one, but this happens every day.
So if there was a single message I can get across, treat prescription drugs like guns, because drugs kill. If you leave a cabinet unlocked and open, it would be like keeping a loaded gun on the bed. You're inviting disaster. Treat drugs like loaded weapons.
You say all drugs or just all these opioids?
All drugs.
Right.
If you can keep a medicine cabinet open and you have young children, or even if you don't have young children, you're inviting somebody to come in and take a controlled substance from you.
Right.
And that's the state of affairs that we're in, unfortunately.
Right. So let me ask, so now if somebody suspects drug abuse, which that's another whole thing, how do you suspect it? You know, like when we were growing up, not that I smoked marijuana, but you know what, you smelled it, your eyes were glassy, it was like pretty obvious who was stoned.
So this is an enormous issue, especially not only as a lawyer, but as a professor, as just a person. Lines are blurring. Right. Marijuana is legal in some states and illegal in others. And it sets the tone for what else is legitimate and not. Vaporizers are an enormous problem that I'll just touch upon and leave it at that. The symptoms sometimes are clear. If you haven't been trained in Narcan, it's free. You should undergo the training, not because you're going to administer it, but because you can see the signs of not only opioid use, but withdrawal.
But what are the signs of opioid use? Like, do the people walk around, they don't walk around, maybe they walk around stoned, or can you tell us? You don't smell it on them.
So typically you
don't get the munchies.
Typically they won't be eating a whole lot, but you could see the signs: the pupils dilated, somebody slurred speech. You're going to see somebody, they call it nodding off. Be wary of someone who spends extended time in the bathroom. Going into the bathroom, staying there for long periods of time. Typically that's where someone will use drugs. And right now, not only the access to drugs like fentanyl. Is so easy, whether it's a pill cabinet or a drug dealer, it's so cheap.
Right.
So
I think that's a big part of the problem too. But now, what does somebody do though? Because I think as a parent, they may say, well, I don't want to call the cop on my kids because I don't want them to get. Who wants their kid to go to jail?
So everyone should know about the Good Samaritan Law.
Right.
The Good Samaritan Law it protects you. If you call 911, someone is overdosing, they will send medical help. I gave some notes here. It protects you for if you're possessing controlled substances up to including 8 felony offenses. I get that right off the New York government website if anyone's interested. Any amount of marijuana. It protects against drug paraphernalia. And if you're so unfortunate to find yourself facing a crime or criminal action, we could use it as a defense, as I say when I put my criminal defense lawyer hat back on. We could use it as.
But would you call it on your? Would you recommend somebody calls it on their? Forget that. I think that's like the overdosing situation. But let's say somebody comes home and my kid is not getting treated. Of course they're going to deny it, right? Go to no, I didn't do it. You can't pick up a 16, 17-year-old, 18-year-old. A lot of kids live home at 19, 20. You can't force them to go into treatment, right? But do you pick up the phone and call the police? And then are you putting your kid in jail and giving him a criminal record and destroying him for life?
And so this is the issue that we face.
It's a conundrum. What do you do?
It's enormous because if you do have someone who you suspect of using drugs, absolutely, you should call the authorities if you think it's coming to a dangerous situation. Health and welfare, if that person looks like they're having trouble and they're nodding out, you're not sure how much that person or what that person took.
You don't want them to get arrested, Cory.
You don't. And of course, you're going to have to call someone like me.
Right.
And then we do charge for our time.
Right.
If not, you're going to get legal aid or a conflict counselor, attorney.
And do they get treated, Cory? If they get arrested and they go to jail, I've seen they say, okay, come back and we'll arraign you, and now your first time, so come back in a month. person's still addicted to heroin.
And it's,
so what do they do? And I see they send them home.
It's amazing because not only do they send them home, in some instances you'll get what's called a desk appearance ticket, which means come back to court. You have someone who's having trouble with just the basic functions in life, who you now tell come back to court, which, as you know, in Suffolk County, transportation is difficult. If someone's having trouble with their basic needs, just maintaining themselves, going to a job, whatever it is, they're probably not going to go to court.
And then there's a warrant.
And then there will be a warrant, and then you will be arrested, and it's not treated as a substance abuse disorder. And the condition, having a controlled substance, having a syringe, is not treated as a symptom of a substance abuse disorder.
Right.
It's treated as a crime. Just like homosexuality was treated as a crime at some point, it's treated like a crime.
So that's how you're tying it into. That's a very good tie-in. That's how you're tying it into a civil right. So it's a civil rights issue.
It is.
But like homosexuality, it's a civil rights. I mean, right? Equality, civil rights.
If you ask me, it's a civil rights. It's the civil rights issue of our time. We'll probably look back at this as a dark day. Remember all the money that we spent incarcerating, arresting individuals.
I mean, it doesn't work.
Not only does it not work, it doesn't deter. It doesn't rehabilitate. It doesn't serve the functions that the criminal justice system is supposed to serve, which is why we're seeing the emergence of opioid courts upstate and even in the 5 boroughs. And we're seeing alternatives. Not only is there, naloxone or certain things offered to prisoners as they leave jails, but in certain counties and certain states, you have substances that are offered to help ameliorate those effects. And for instance, there's still lawsuits right now. There's an article in the New York Law Journal for any of the lawyers who are reading this or non-lawyers who get the Law Journal about assisted outpatient treatment, about methadone treatment, about these things that have existed for quite some time and will save taxpayers money, and more importantly than saving taxpayers money, it'll save taxpayers themselves.
Now, I have many friends, unfortunately, went to jail in Riverhead for, not violent crimes, but they went to jail, child support, things like that. And they tell me that there's people with feces exploding all over the place because they get arrested on heroin, and they told me, Gary, they beat their heads in the wall, they're crapping, they're violently ill. They literally just put, I guess maybe the judge said, oh, well, I'll detox them. It seems cruel to me.
Look.
And they all go back and do the drugs when they get out.
Gary, what you're highlighting is an enormous problem because most of the people that you're talking about are innocent until proven guilty. Think about that. They're kept in because they can't make bail.
Right.
And if you're if you're addicted to drugs, you probably don't have money.
Is that a crime though, Cory?
Being addicted itself is not a crime. Being a prostitute itself is not a crime. But imagine that.
So being addicted is not a crime, but so if you're addicted, though, you have to do drugs, which is a crime.
Which is the very symptom of the disorder, right? So just for say, drug use, drug possession, and essentially carrying the drug paraphernalia, that was something that you had a substance abuse disorder in the civil context. We have acts, Americans with Disability Act.
Are drug addicts covered?
People with substance abuse disorder, addiction, yes.
So how can you be, technically, how can you be convicted criminally then if you could prove that you have a drug problem, you're protected under the Americans with Disability Act, you're not responsible for your act because you have no choice. Your brain is telling you it's not voluntary. So can that be used as a defense?
So you're highlighting the article, the conundrum that we face, right? We are criminalizing the very symptom of a substance abuse disorder. If you go down the symptoms of this disorder, possession and drug paraphernalia and use are symptoms of that disorder. So if you ask me, yes, we are criminalizing. But then, of course, somebody
kills somebody on drugs, we want them arrested.
Well, that's right.
Charged for murder.
Well, look,
and I get that.
If we look at the same context, look, if you are an alcoholic, you can't get into a car no matter what disorder you have when you haven't imbibed alcohol. Right. Just like if you are a pedophiliac or someone who's diagnosed with a sex abuse disorder of some sort, just because you have that mental illness doesn't mean that you are excused from the criminal liability.
I don't know what the answer is. There's a lot of big issues here.
But what are we to do if I told you that treatment costs a fraction of what it costs to incarcerate?
I would say that's why we don't want to do it, because there's money in not treating it.
I hope to change that. But look, if that's really the case, look at the jail lawsuits. If you said people banging the head against the wall. If we don't treat those individuals, whether they suffer from the dehydration as a result of withdrawal or anything else, and they die, that is an enormous lawsuit that unfortunately the taxpayers, we are going to bear the burden.
And somebody lost their child.
And somebody lost their child.
Which could be the next person who could cure cancer, or every life is precious.
Gary, we've been surpassed. We lead the state in overdoses, opioid-related deaths. We lead
Suffolk
the state.
County?
Suffolk County.
Right.
I mean, something's got to be done, and it's not just younger persons too; it's older persons.
Right.
When you look at what's going on in this county, it's not just an epidemic, and the people who are either there to sort of sanitize, oh, right, we know about it, or say, don't worry, we've got this. They're invested, they're shareholding. We need to find other ways, because it's obviously not working. It's getting worse before it's getting better.
Great, Cory. Unfortunately, we're out of time. But like you said, we have a lot of stuff. And but first, I'd just like to thank you. I mean, as an attorney, you spent a lot of time that's not profitable and free. And I know you work in drug shelters, and you do a lot of overnights. And I know this is something that it's certainly not a way to get rich. So I appreciate, on the behalf of the people who are watching, that you do this.
Thank
you.
Let me say this: if you're a parent, if you're facing these issues, don't be hampered just by what's OASIS. It's the Office of Addiction and Substance Abuse in New York. Don't be just hampered by that. That's the New York State Office of Alcoholism and Substance Abuse Services. Especially if you have insurance, inquire, ask. Out-of-state facilities that are not hampered by OASIS, again, they're not regulated by OASIS, but they will provide options. When parents say there are no options, you might want to go out of state. And these are facilities that might take Medicaid, or especially when some parents have resources out here, private medical insurance. And you can get your son or your daughter into a long-term facility, not 28 days because OASIS says so, but a long-term facility because they need it, because drug addiction doesn't stop in 28 days.
So, Cory, I mean, if you may, hope I didn't do it, but if anybody wants to reach out, can they email you? And you can maybe email them, not specifically on their case, but some information if they email. Can I give out your email address?
Absolutely. I'll give Gary my email address.
And go ahead and say it on the thing, and we'll put it on the bottom of the screen over there somewhere.
It's Cory H. Morris, CoryHMorris.com. info@CoryHMorris.com, info@CoryHMorris.com.
And just put in the subject line Long Island backstory information, and you'll send them a link to all the resources that you know about.
I've got lists of facilities. As a private criminal defense attorney, unfortunately, I help a lot of people in that capacity. And of course, there are a number of resources, but there's also other options. And depending on what a parent is facing, unfortunately, they usually recalcitrant to come forward. So I'm glad to do that.
And again, if you are watching it, and God forbid you get wrapped up in this problem criminally, I don't really endorse people. That's not the idea. It's more public service. But it's nice to have a criminal attorney who knows civil rights and understands the drug problem. Because listen, even if you get out of the criminal thing, you got to deal with the other aspect of it, right?
Unfortunately, and remember, criminal defense attorney, not a criminal attorney, but criminal defense attorney.
Good distinction.
And look, unfortunately, I'm tasked with not only addressing the charges, but sometimes addressing the problems that cause these charges. So I'm glad that.
Cory, thanks so much. I appreciate your time. I'm Gary Jacobs, and we'll see everybody next week. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Gary Jacobs and Long Island Backstory, winner of the Huntington Lodge No. 124's 2018 Community Service Award in recognition of the efforts to offer an alternative access to news stories of interest to all Long Islanders. Long Island Backstory is made possible in part by Americans for Legal Reform, the oldest, most successful legal group in the world. P.O. Box 2679, Huntington Station, New York 11746. Telephone 631-421-6390. Website Americans4legalreform.com.
Todd's a great guy. I mean, look at him. What a sweetheart. Attaboy. Wait, Todd, what are you doing? How totally selfish and un-Todd-like of you. Come on, Todd. Come on, man.